Meet me at the grill because today we are making a grilled shrimp salsa. It's the perfect appetizer, side dish, or snack, and your dad is gonna love to have it on Father's Day. Welcome back to another episode of What's Cooking in Worcester. I am nutritionist Kelly Williams, and today we are grilling up some fun for Father's Day. All right, let's get started. We're going to prep our vegetables and our shrimp inside, and then we'll take it out to the grill. We are going to start with some corn. I have a sweet onion today. You could also use a red onion. I have an Anaheim pepper. You could also use a poblano or an jalapeno. It just depends on how much heat you like. And then we have some green onions and a few fresh ingredients that we will save for later. So we are gonna start by just giving our vegetables a little brush with some oil before they go on our grill. Okay, we're just gonna coat with a bit of oil, brushed all over. Okay, and same thing with our pepper. And then with our onion, we're gonna go ahead and quarter it. You do wanna leave the root intact at the end. That's gonna keep all the pieces of the onion together, and that's what we're going for at this stage. Okay. And we're gonna do the same thing over here. Just brush our onion with some oil just to keep it from sticking. We're gonna get a nice char on that out on our grill. And you do want your grill to be preheating right now over about a medium-high level if you have a grill where you can set a temperature. If you're using coals, just get them nice and hot. And if you don't have a grill available to you, this dish can actually be made indoors using a grill pan. And those are available at most major department stores and our big box stores. We're just gonna give a little sprinkle of salt. We're gonna have a lot of other seasonings come into play later, but before we put these items on the grill, we don't need to do too much. And now we're gonna get our protein ready. I have 1 pound of shrimp. These have already been cleaned, deveined. They do still have the shell on them, but we will peel that off afterwards. If you wanted to pull the shell off first, perfectly fine. They're gonna cook really quickly and they might dry out just a little bit more. The shell will help them stay tender and moist. You wanna pat these dry with a paper towel or something to get as much moisture off as possible. And for these, instead of brushing, I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit of my oil over top. And I'm going to use a little bit of our seasoning mixture. I have some paprika, some cumin, and some coriander. And just a bit, again, we're gonna season the rest of this dish later, but we're gonna go in some layers here. With your hands or a spoon, you just wanna make sure and get everything incorporated. Give your hands a wash and we'll meet at the grill. Our grill is nice and hot and we are ready to go. I do have this little tray feature. If you have one of these at home, these are great for grilling any smaller items that you have, and we are gonna use this today for our shrimp, just to make sure we don't lose any and have them fall through the grates. So we're gonna get that over here. We're gonna start with our corn because it takes the longest. We're gonna add our pepper and our onions. We're gonna give the vegetables a head start for just a couple of minutes, and we'll put the remaining 2 onions, spring onions, and the shrimp on in just a few minutes. Okay, we do want to give all of our veggies a little turn throughout the process just so they can get a little bit of a char. Not too much, but on all sides. All right, we'll give that a few more minutes before we add our shrimp and green onions. All right, we're gonna give everything another turn. We're getting some nice little char. You can see our peppers getting a little brown there. We're gonna add our 2 green onions. They do not take too long, so we're gonna set them over here and go ahead and add our shrimp. Now the shrimp only takes a couple minutes on each side, so you do want to stay close and make sure you give yourself time to get them flipped over. You don't want them to dry out. You're just looking for them to be pink. This is a good time to go ahead and switch out your serving trays and your utensils if you need to, since you're gonna be in between handling your raw meat and your cooked. All right, our shrimp are getting nice and pink. We're gonna give them a little flip here. We're just gonna give this about 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll be ready to take everything off the grill. All right, while everything is cooling off, and it doesn't need to be cold, it just needs to be cooled off just enough that you can handle it comfortably and not burn yourself, we're gonna go ahead and dice up this Persian cucumber, English cucumber. Any of the thinner seedless cucumbers will work here. You can go with any one that you want. We are going to also need the zest of 1 lime. We're gonna juice somewhere between 4 and 5 limes, but we're gonna start by zesting 1 of them. And we're gonna just set the zest to the side and we'll have that ready to go with our dressing. And you just wanna make sure that you just take this top colored layer off. You don't want to get down to the white part here. That's the pith. That's going to be a little bit bitter. Our shrimp feels like it is cool enough to the touch, so we're going to go ahead and remove the shell, peel it, and remove the tails at the same time. I just have a little garbage bowl set up here, and as I peel them, I'm just gonna set them back on the plate. We're going to chop them up, as I mentioned, because we are making a salsa, and I know everything on this platter looks good enough to eat just as it is, and it's certainly all ready to go. But if you are not a person who eats shrimp, another great variation on this recipe, you could use scallops, of course, or if you want to use something land-based, you could definitely do this same recipe with chicken. You're obviously just going to need to cook it a little bit longer because chicken's going to take a little bit extra time on the grill. So follow all the same steps and just make sure it's cooked thoroughly. We are going to get chopping on our shrimp. You want about a 1/4 inch size, and these do not have to be perfect. You can just give it a rough chop. And again, this is going to depend on the size of your shrimp. We are using I believe extra large size today, so a little bit more chopping on these guys. And we are gonna keep going with that process with all of our vegetables. So starting with our pepper. Now, depending on how much heat you like, you can either leave the seeds or remove them. They really just slide right out after they're cooked, like this. And you can even use the back side of your knife to just gently scrape along. And same thing, we just wanna go ahead and dice this up. And we're gonna do the same thing with our onions. Do be careful when you're doing this because after they've been on the grill, then remember we oiled them at the beginning, they can be a little bit slippery, so just be careful. And we'll get our green onions, also called scallions. We're gonna use all parts of this, the white and the green. Just give that a nice dice. Okay, and lastly our corn. Okay, and remember we had that cucumber we diced up while everything was cooling off. We're gonna add that. And now it's time to get started on our dressing. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add that lime zest that we had before and the juice of 4 to 5 limes. Now, if you buy your limes in the store and they feel pretty firm to you, great thing to keep in mind is that you can always roll them across your countertop. That helps to get the juices flowing. We are gonna still use the lime that we already zested. That one is still intact, so we'll start there. Now this salsa is gonna be best when you keep it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to an hour before serving. Gives the flavors kind of time to mingle, but you can also keep it in the refrigerator for about 3 days. Okay, so we did the juice of 4 limes. I'm gonna add that across. And I felt like my limes were pretty juicy, so I'm gonna go with 4, but if you didn't feel like you had a lot of juice out of your limes, go ahead and go up to 5. Next, we're gonna take a bunch of cilantro, measure with your heart on this, but at least a 1/2 cup or so, chopped. And I'm just removing some of the more firm or woody stems on this. The entire thing is edible. You do not need to remove the leaves from cilantro. You can just get to chopping. Okay. All right, and you remember that seasoning trio that we talked about in the beginning? We're gonna go ahead and layer another round of those same seasons. We have a nice smoky paprika, some coriander, and some cumin. If you did not have these spices individually in your home and you had a packet of taco seasoning or fajita seasoning, you could definitely use that as well as a stand-in. Okay, we're gonna give this a stir. And I like to stir this before we add our final ingredient, which is an avocado, just so that we don't get the avocado too mushy by stirring it a lot once that's added. So everything is combined there, and this is our final step. We can't have salsa without an avocado. And I'm just slicing down just to the point of the skin so that I can then flip this over and these little squares just sort of fall out for me. And again, we just want to give this a light toss once we add the avocado so that we don't make that mushy. And there we have it. This is our grilled shrimp salsa, perfect for serving in a taco with some chips. It's a great appetizer, snack, or side dish. Thank you so much for joining us for our Grillin' Up Fun episode of What's Cooking in Worcester. For the Worcester County Health Department, I am nutritionist Kelly Williams. Remember to eat healthy, be active, and prevent diabetes.